Hello drama lovers, welcome back to the K-pop World Channel. The night always has its own way of keeping secrets. In the silence of a dimly lit hospital corridor, among the hushed footsteps and flickering fluorescent lights dancing on the floor, a story was quietly being written. Not by cameras, not by media lenses, but by two hearts that once crossed paths under the dazzling lights, and now find comfort in a silence only they understand. Xiao Zhan sat hunched over. His hands were clasped together tightly, as if letting go would cause the world to collapse. This didn't happen on stage. It wasn't on a red carpet. It was in a hospital, in front of someone who had become more than just a co-worker. It was Wang Yibo. This isn't a rumor, not a baseless tabloid story blown up by gossip. This was real, witnessed by hospital staff who worked that night. The moment Wang Yibo came out of surgery, frail and pale, hooked up to machines, Xiao Zhan's world shattered. No cameras, no script, just silent sobs, a trembling hand, and an unspoken prayer. Everything started with a piece of shocking news that came so suddenly. Wang Yibo was reportedly admitted to the hospital in secret. The media didn't know. His agency released a brief, neutral statement. Wang Yibo has undergone surgery and is currently recovering. We ask for everyone's understanding and prayers. A professional sentence, but cold. Too calm. Yet behind the scenes, there was silent chaos. Xiao Zhan arrived without a big entourage. He brought almost nothing. Just a black jacket, a mask, and a face that couldn't hide its worry. A few fans who happened to be nearby saw him slip in through a side entrance. He didn't speak to anyone. His steps were quick, but his eyes looked empty. Like his body had arrived, but his soul was still struggling to catch up. As the surgery went on, Xiao Zhan sat in the waiting room. 1 hour, 2, 3, no news from inside. He didn't check his phone, didn't read any messages, just stared at the floor as if trying to read a fate that hadn't yet been written. And when the doctor finally came out, exhausted, Xiao Zhan stood so quickly that the chair behind him almost tipped over. No one knows what the doctor whispered to him. But in the next second, Xiao Zhan covered his face with both hands. He didn't cry then, but his breathing turned heavy, as if he was holding back something too heavy to bear. He waited for Wang Yibo's bed to be wheeled out of the operating room. And when that door finally opened and the gurney came rolling out, the atmosphere turned utterly still. Even the machines seemed to quiet down. Wang Yibo looked weak. His body was covered in a white sheet, but his left hand was visible, tied to and for. An oxygen mask covered his face. His eyes were closed, and his skin looked pale. Xiao Zhan stood frozen, unable to move. Then, 1 step, 2, and he followed the gurney into the ICU. He was allowed only 5 minutes, but those 5 minutes felt like 5 years. Inside that room, time stood still. No sound, except the slow beep of a monitor. Xiao Zhan stood beside the bed, gazing at Yibo's unconscious face. Everything slowed. His fingers wanted to reach out, but he hesitated. He only watched, and in that moment, tears began to fall. He didn't wail, didn't break down loudly, but the quiet trembling of his shoulders and the way his body sagged under invisible weight was enough to show how deep the pain was. He gently touched Wang Yibo's hand, carefully, as if afraid of hurting him. Then he whispered something. No one knows what Xiao Zhan said in that moment, but his expression looked like someone who was apologizing or perhaps making a promise. After leaving the room, Xiao Zhan didn't go home right away. He sat again in the hallway chair, eyes fixed on the floor, just like before. His face still wet, but he didn't wipe the tears, as if he wanted the pain to stay just a little longer. The news spread fast. It didn't take long for fans to find out Xiao Zhan had been at the hospital. Blurry photos surfaced online. Xiao Zhan in a black hoodie, sitting alone, hunched over, his mask soaked with tears. The hashtag Xiao Zhan with Yibo trended immediately. Fans began writing open letters, sharing old photos and videos of them together, posting messages of support. One wrote, "You're not just a friend, you're his home." Another added, "When the world turned its back on him, you stayed. So when he lies there helpless, It's only right that you be the one by his side. The fandom shifted from speculation and doubt to solidarity and empathy. Even some major media outlets began questioning. Were they truly just former co-workers? Or was there something deeper all along, never publicized, but obvious in how they continued to care for one another? After that night, Xiao Zhan returned to the hospital 2 more times. No announcement, just a small bag and a bottle of water. He sat in the same seat, in silence, and left late into the night. One nurse said he didn't go in, didn't ask anything, just sat there for hours, like his presence alone was a silent prayer. Meanwhile, Wang Yibo's condition slowly improved. He regained consciousness but still couldn't speak much. The agency remained tight-lipped. No emotional statements. Only postponed schedules, canceled fan meetings, and staff trying to calm worried fans. But one question lingered. What really happened? What illness required such an urgent operation? And why was everything being kept secret? There were no answers. But people knew one thing. For that moment of crisis, the first to arrive, the one who cried, who stayed, and who waited, was Xiao Zhan. The question now is, will everything go back to normal after this? Will they speak on camera, explain with their usual composed smiles? Or will they remain silent, letting this chapter become a quiet memory shared only between them? Sometimes love doesn't need to be announced. Sometimes the truest form of loyalty is shown when no one is watching. And in that moment, when the world seemed to pause and one man wept in a hospital hallway for another man fighting to survive, maybe that was the clearest proof of love we'll ever see. We don't know how this story will continue. Will Wang Yibo return to the stage with his usual calm smile? Will Xiao Zhan go back to posting photos of skies, flowers, and cats without ever explaining how he feels? Or will there be a new moment, an unexpected sign that shows this bond isn't just a thing of the past, but something very much alive? Drama lovers, what do you think? Was that terror just a reflex? Or was it a long-hidden truth finally breaking through? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, because maybe this story isn't over yet. And as always, we'll be right here, waiting, listening, and feeling every step of the journey with you. See you in the next update.